Hey everybody, welcome back to Dad's Life. I'm here at the site again for my third site visit, which will be video 2 in this series. And it is cold out here today and a little windy, but we're going to be looking at the site and talk a little bit about compaction and what does that mean for you or the safety of your family. You ever come across the site or construction site and you're wondering, oh, why are they putting some fill here? Why don't they just build right on top of the surface? Well, we run into what is called compaction ratio, which for our site, we need to have our compaction ratio at 95%. So this is our substrate, the existing site, and then this is our fill for the building to raise it up and to have a stable base to build upon. So what does compaction mean? So we've got two different surfaces here. This one on my right, as you can see, it's solid ground. It's compacted. It's up to about 95%. And this one on the left, well, this soil is not compacted. As you can see, my foot sinks right into it. So if you're building a foundation, you want that foundation to not move or stay still. So that's what we have with two different compaction ratios. So you may ask, what does this 95% compaction rate mean for me? Well, you remember not too long ago the apartment building in Florida that collapsed? Well, that had largely to do with the soil that the building was built on. And from the last video, I talked about the geotech report. Well, what happens is they come out and they drill a whole bunch of holes on the site. And they give that information back to our structural engineer, and he looks at that information for them to be able to build the structure that will support our building. And for this site, this ground is horrible. So they based that information and going to do pylons. So basically our building is going to be standing on stilts. So hey guys, it's a month later. I came back. There really wasn't much on the previous part that you watched. They were just prepping the site and going over doing their compaction and their testing for that. But just to kind of get a better understanding of what that actually means is, like, this site is really being built on like an old lake bed. Even though over the years the lake got smaller and smaller to where now it's just a pond. So the top layer, they're compacting that down to 95%. To that really is only supporting the pad, the building pad, the first floor. But the actual structure to the building that needs to be supported, that is going to be what's put on rigid inclusions. So since the top layer cannot support the building, they're putting in 4 like 12-inch holes in like a little box area, and they're going to drill those down 12 inches round hole 84 feet in the ground, and they're going to fill those full of concrete, and then they're going to put like a base pad on top of those that help support our building. So they're going to be placed like every I think it's 8 feet. So like at every 8 feet you're going to have this square concrete box that's sitting on these 4 rigid inclusions, which are like, imagine 4 straws going down into the ground and filling those up with concrete at each interval, like 8 feet. So that's kind of wraps up the site as far as the compaction and what I was going over before, to kind of help you understand. But like I was saying, like during the first little bit of construction, is basically site prep and site work. So part of our site prep, like for this backside of the pond, These are the pylons they put in. The building is actually going to come right up against these pylons, And right now they got the lake drained because they're coming in with the sewer lines and they're putting in the sewer access points to the back of the building, and they're just coming in and setting those in. So the reason why they needed the pond lower is these pylons that you see here, these big steel pylons, they're not really that watertight. Some water kind of squeezes through these joints. So they need the pond to be lowered, because when they put this in, they're having water come through this pond over into where our sewer lines is, which is a bad thing if the pond was up higher, because all that water will be draining straight into the sewer, and that's a big no-no. So that needs to be sealed on its own. But they kind of have the pond lowered, as you can see, to the bottom of this hole. That's where the water level of the pond is. So once they get this all connected and sealed up, they can go ahead and fill the pond back up, and any water that does come through here, it'll be over the pipe, but it's all sealed up and there's not going to be any issue there with any drainage. Then we'll go ahead and we'll walk to the front of the site and we'll go over what they're doing up front. So I'm trying to be up here away from the generator and all the beeping, but what's going on up here on the front of the site is this is their 4-foot storm drain that's coming in around the front of the building. This is what's going to tie in from all the curbs and then the drainage to the roof of the building. It's going to all go into the storm drain. So around the front of the property, the entryway, that's what they're installing now, is just coming in and backfilling the pipe that they've already laid, which, as you can see, I mean, 4-foot storm drain, that's a pretty big storm drain. And then towards the front, they added the manhole, which is all, part of our construction cost, is making sure that the waterworks for the city gets tied into our building. So that's a cost that the owner has to pay for on his end. But they're pretty much almost set for the front of the site. They've already came around the other side to that other building back there, and they've already dug up the road on that side and put the storm drain. So some of this is conduit that's going to be going in for the street lights that you see right there. Part of being on the architectural side of this, some of the issues that kind of come up or being involved is always tying into the existing utilities. So there was a light pole that was right here on this side, and for the city requirements, we have to put that light pole back in the exact same location. So for us, it's like, how do we make the light pole that's already there work with the light poles that we need to install? So for us, our 4-foot storm or wastewater in our storm drain is going to be running right underneath that light pole. So we have to work with the city saying, hey, we know there's a light pole where we're putting our storm water. Can we relocate it maybe a foot back off this pipe? Which we have to apply for a permit to get that done. And then if they agree upon it, then we go ahead and submit them drawings. And then, like for just this one single light pole, we got to move it back a foot so we can clear our storm drain. So I'm going to go ahead and fly the drone and show you some video of that. So you can see on our side from the site visits that from last visit to this 2 months from then, the site really hasn't changed that much. They've added more gravel. They brought the site up to our flood level, and there's really not much changed. But once everything gets going with the concrete and them start putting the rigid inclusions in for the foundation, then the site's really going to take off. that's all for now, guys. That's basically 2 months wrote into one video. On the site, really at the start of the project, there's really not much that's interesting or to see. It's basically just site preparation and getting everything ready. But I hope you enjoyed what you've seen so far. If you want, click the little subscribe button, hit the bell, and until next time, I'll see you then.
I put Pizza Piece on my mouth, so I don't think you could tell that I was laughing.
I did.